And like I can tell you everything about the company just because I was so impressed by how the marketing went down. So that's something for you guys to consider, especially if you do physical products. Like, how can you have something that nothing has, and then how can you tell a story about how you developed that helps people resonate with it? Does that make sense? Awesome. Sweet, guys. So that's the first video I want to show you. So in the second session, I'm going to talk more about, this is not the slide deck, where'd it go? I'm going to talk more about writing copy. So I'm, like I said, primarily a copywriter. So I'm going to share with you the 14 secrets to write ads that make you more money. When it comes to writing copy, there's essentially two skill sets. The first one is coming up with the conceptual idea, or like what's the whole concept for the whole campaign? How do we create an idea that is new and fresh that our market has never seen before? So a good example of that is like the zip fit thing. It's like we've got this idea that, you know, if you use a zipper, it'll be the best fitted shirt you've ever worn. And then the second part of it is how do you like finesse the words specifically? How do you invoke more emotion? How do you write words that keep the reader engaged? And that's more what I'm going to talk about today. If you're writing ads, I'll share with you some of my philosophies and some of the ways that I what's the word? Sort of massage things, wordsmith it is what I call it, so that it your market people basically can relate to it more. And I'll talk about that as we go. Now, one more thing before we get started, guys. After having dinner with Steve last night, we talked about a video that when me and Steve were driving from Santa Barbara to LA, I was telling him about how some of the content I've created, and we were having this chat about polarizing marketing. And I said, oh, mate, it's funny you say that. I kind of went through this phase about a year ago where I would just create videos on the most like controversial, enraging topics I could, and I would have the most like aggressive perspective on them. And I'll get so much hate. Far out, I'm getting nervous just bringing this up because I can't believe I'm going to show you this video. But anyway, you're going to all think of me very differently after you watch this. And anyway, so it was around the time Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor. And I'm a big fight fan, big fan of Floyd mainly because I'm a boxing fan, but I love Conor. And I was watching this go down, the press conferences. Does everyone remember when that happened last year? I was watching all the press conferences, and I know Conor's a great trash talker and a great showman, and as much as I loved him, after a while I got sick of how arrogant he was. And I was like, look, I get that it's for show, and I get that it's you're just talking trash, but I feel like there's a level where you got to respect your opponent, especially a guy like Floyd, who was an undefeated boxer. He'd beaten like 23 world champions, and he'd never lost. But Conor was just relentless with the trash talk, saying he was going to knock him out when he'd never had a professional boxing fight. And I was like, this is rubbish. Like, you know, this dude, super arrogant. There's just no respect for this current champion, this guy who's dedicated his whole career to the sport. And then I can't remember what happened, but I had this epiphany that I was like, nah, maybe it's not arrogant. Maybe Conor's just so sold on himself that he believes that he can actually achieve these outcomes. But because I don't have that same level of belief in myself, I call him arrogant. But in reality, he's just super confident, and I have lower self-confidence than he does. Right? And I kind of had this idea. So anyway, once I realized that, I was like, I'm going to make a video about this. And let's put it this way. If you search my full name on Facebook and put the word arrogant after it, a ton of my videos come up. But I want to show you exactly what construed. This is the most viewed video I have on Facebook. Now, actually, before I get to this, the reason I'm showing you this, guys, is because, like I said earlier, everyone has this fear of putting themselves out there. Everyone does. If you're not doing video, you can tell yourself whatever story it is that you want. I'm telling you, you're not doing it because of fear. And if you're not doing it for that reason, the first 10 videos you create, you should not even worry about the topic, the content, none of that stuff, how you look. Like, I'm sure it all factors into it, but you're purely doing it to get over the fear. Because the reason I started doing videos like the one you're about to see is because I was so scared of doing content, like marketing content, even though I knew what I was talking about. And once I finally overcame that fear and started posting more and more, I would always be nervous doing Facebook Lives and stuff. But then after a while, the buzz wore off, and I wasn't creating content. And this coach I had was like, mate, why aren't you creating content? And I was like, I'm just bored. Like, it just doesn't excite me. But I said to him, I actually had this idea the other day. And he's like, oh, what's that? I'm like, I've got a pretty strong opinion on the gender pay dispute. And this coach I had is ruthless, dude. He's like, 5 p.m. today. I'm like, what? He's like, you're going to do a video about it. Anyway, eventually convinces me, and I do this wild rant about the gender pay dispute and how I think everyone should take responsibility for themselves, even though it shouldn't be a thing. And one thing led to another, and I started getting this mad buzz out of creating videos that were super controversial, right? And so I want to demonstrate this to you guys because my parents are friends with me on Facebook, my whole family disowned me from doing this, and you know, people I meet, everyone had an opinion about it. People I was friends with were like, that's not what you're like. Like, it went crazy, right? But the point is, now I have no fear over creating any kind of content because I took it way too far. And I stopped well before I had some idea. This is like kind of crazy. I had some ideas that were going to go wow, like couldn't be reversed. Like, righto, so watch this video. Why I'm arrogant and why you're a little bitch. It's got 4,500 views on Facebook.
I want to drop some quick truths.
This
I
is
want to
me.
talk about arrogance.
Hang on. This is me. This is me a year and a half ago. Can't believe this is actually happening.
What's up? So in this video, I want to drop some quick truths. I want to talk about arrogance. To me, arrogance means one thing. It's a word that people with a low level of self-belief use to describe people that are confident. And it's the reason you're a little fucking bitch. Let me explain. Look, I'm just going to use myself as an example. I think Australia, we have this terrible fucking tall poppy syndrome disease where we hate people that do anything fucking good. So we tear shreds off them and rip them down, to make ourselves feel better. No one wants to brag. No one wants to gloat. No one wants to even just state the facts. But the thing is, it's not arrogant. See, for me, I'm just going to state some truths. I'm fucking young. I'm fit. I'm strong. I'm good looking. I'm 26. I make good money. I live in a sick fucking apartment in the middle of the best fucking city in the world. Is that arrogant? Fuck no. It's just the truth. If you think I'm ugly, fuck you. I don't care. I like how I look. But this is the thing. If I went around saying that all the time, everyone would call me an arrogant little fuck. But the reality is, it's not true. I'm confident. You call me arrogant because you don't have the balls to say the same thing about yourself. Because you don't believe it about yourself. So because you don't believe it about you, you don't think it's possible for me to believe it about me, which means that you think that I'm arrogant, but I'm not. I'm just fucking confident. So if you want to get more out of life, if you want people to respect you, if you want people to see you as more alpha or whatever the fuck it is that you want, start believing in yourself. Start telling everyone else that you're a fucking beast. Don't expect everyone else to tell you that shit about yourself. Fill your own cup up. Tell yourself you're the fucking man or you're the fucking woman or whatever the fuck it is you want to tell yourself. Believe that shit in here. Because when you can do that, it's not arrogant. It's just confidence. It's just the fucking the cold, hard, honest truth.
So, funny story about this actually is that a chick I've been dating for the last 6 months commented on this video. I didn't know her, and that's how we met. So that's a funny story, but which says all kinds of twisted things if I think about it. But the reason I showed you this video, guys, is not because I felt like that'd be fun, but I'm not encouraging everyone to go and do this. It's obviously a very radical example. I look back on it now, I don't regret it. I don't regret anything because I think regret's denying the fact that you didn't know what you know now. I really believe in the message. The delivery kind of got the whole thing confused. But like I said, guys, I just kind of believe in going all out. Like, you're only going around this rock once. And yeah, the fallout was pretty significant from it. But, that's just kind of my philosophy on things. I'm not going to create content like that moving forward just because I don't want what I'm saying to get lost in how I'm saying it. But it was a great growth experience. There's a video a guy created. He took that video, some random, I don't know, downloaded that, chopped it up, and then mashed it back together and made like a 20-second mix of it, of me like insulting myself. I've probably got it here somewhere. And when I saw it, I was so triggered by it. This video here.
I want to drop some quick truths. I'm a little fucking bitch because you don't have the balls to say the same thing about yourself. I'm a little fucking bitch. I'm just a little fucking bitch.
So this has got like 1100 views.
Cold, hard, honest truth. I'm a little fucking...
And so when the guy sent it to me, I was super triggered by it. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. So then after a few days, I was like, fuck it, I'll just post it off my Facebook page. So I posted it and it's got that is like a quarter of the views of the actual video. But yeah, I just want to share that with you guys. Maybe it's a stretch for some people. It's definitely a stretch for me to stand here and watch it again. But it's an example of just getting out there and having a crack, My mum rang me up and we had some fairly tense convos about it, and I was like, and then like I get it, Mum. I'm like, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Like, people that like me like it, people that don't. But everyone feels a certain way about that. People that are offended by it were never going to work with me anyway. And people that were going to work with me just think I'm even better. And after this sort of stuff, the next day I posted a video saying I'm coming out of the closet, and told it, and then I'm like, I'm not gay, and then told a story about my whole life, kind of like what I talked about this morning. And it got like a bunch of 1,000 views as well. And when I saw it, I was like, everyone saw the video and thought, I knew this dude was gay. But, so anyway, but yeah, guys, I just want to share that with you for a bit of idle entertainment. I think we can all do more to put ourselves out there, to be ourselves, to be who we truly are. Because when we're authentic, people resonate with us. The thing I hate the most in this world is political correctness, because I think it's just gotten so far out of hand. Like, that's very politically incorrect. And it's definitely not the way to conduct yourself. I'm sure I'd have a different perspective if I had kids or something like that. I wouldn't even say it's not the way to conduct yourself. Each to their own. The point is, just be who you truly are. Believe what your message is. Go out there and spread it, is kind of the point I'm getting at. So, that's a bit of fun for you guys. If we have time at the end, who would like to see a video I created very recently where I wrote like a full manuscript for it? And it's kind of like this intense, like, emotional video I've created for a project I'm working on. Would anyone be interested in seeing how that looks? I'll show you now if you want to see it. So, long story short, probably after doing crazy stuff like this, I've got into this, I've gone on this sort of journey. I'm really into personal development, and I've gotten a lot into like masculinity stuff. I kind of started going through this phase of reading a lot of books, and I would meet guys I was friends with, and I would say to them stuff like, who's a male role model you've got? Like, what's it mean to be a real man? Like, tell me what you think masculinity is. And without doubt, almost every single guy couldn't tell me what it was, or they have to stop and think about it. Or if they had an example of who it was, I know I couldn't explain it. If they had an example of who it was just interesting to see where their perspectives came from. I know Jerome would probably relate massively to what I'm saying. And I got back from Colombia, and about 3 weeks ago, I was sparring in the gym, like boxing with a mate. And the reason I was doing it was not because I can fight, just for personal development. Never been in a fight, wanted to see what would happen if I got punched in the face. And the answer is you get a black eye. But I was telling my dad about it, and he goes, son, I know it would hurt if I banged my head against a brick wall. I don't need to do it to find out. But anyway, after doing this, I was telling all my friends about it, and they were like, man, that's epic. We want to come and fight. Like, let's fight. Like, everyone wanted to come and fight. So I'm starting this kind of fight club, right? Just as a passion project. But fight club is not the right word for it. It's more a platform for men to explore their masculinity, because I think it's something that's been grossly lost in the world we live in. So I'll show you a video. I wrote this audio and recorded it, and then I had my videographer come and film some of the footage, or all of the footage, and kind of mesh it together. Let me find the video. So this is obviously in draft mode, but I want to show you. You'll be interested to see what the opinions of this is.
There's a crisis of masculinity in our society. The modern man is lost. He's forgotten who he is at his core. He feels trapped, confused, and uncertain. He's afraid and ultimately disempowered. He's lost touch with the warrior inside, the hunter-gatherer that desperately searches for freedom, the killer, the raw primal instinct that all men innately possess, but have grown to ignore. And the worst part is, it's not his fault. Society has taught us to be soft, to disconnect from our natural state. Feminism, while necessary, has taught women how to be men and men how to be women. The modern man sedates himself, searches for freedom in destructive ways, watches porn, scrolls social media, disconnects from the world, from his partner and from his family. He's lost purpose. He ignores his inner calling. He's unfulfilled. He He's weak in his relationship because he's forgotten who he is as a man. He's lost his confidence, his mojo. He doesn't show up in his sex life. He's disconnected from himself and the world because he doesn't know how to connect with his natural state. The primal hunter, the warrior, the true killer inside. But there's good news. He can access it at any time. He just has to be willing to fight for it. And if how you do one thing is how you do everything, come and fight. Discover who you really are.
So it's incomplete. Obviously, there's some stuff I've got to add to the end of it. But you might agree with the message, you might not. That's just like a thing I'm working on at the moment. And that's a good example of how, when you understand what I'm about to talk about, how you can evoke emotion out of people. Because I don't know about you guys, when I watched that, I got pumped. So, thanks, guys. All right, let's see if this works. Cool. All right. So one last example of this, guys. Like I said before, me and my brother started a business that we sold vinyl dance floor. And our mum runs a dance school in Canberra. I'm actually a trained ballet and tap dancer. And ballet dancers dance on this really specific 4mm thick vinyl floor. And my mum went to get some of this stuff, and we imported some from China. And it cost like $2,000, landed in her studio in Canberra, and the competitor in Sydney was selling it for like the same amount of stuff, same material for like $7,500, right? Pretty significant. So this is 2015. It was at Easter when we put it down in her studio. And as soon as I knew that there was such a disparity in the margin, I knew how many people would want this stuff, because Mum had been a dance teacher her whole life, and they'd always complained about the quality of flooring in like community halls and stuff like that they worked in. So I wrote this long story. And I'll post a link to it, right? I wrote this long story about our life, about how I was a trained dancer and how my mum ran a dance school, and how, I knew what it was like to dance on a really quality dance surface, and, I knew how expensive they were, and, then I talked about how I discovered a way to import the stuff from China. We went and manufactured it, the exact same specification, except for like 40% of the price, or 60% of the price, whatever it is. And it went crazy. I just ran this ad on Facebook for about 3 years straight. Like you can see, they're published in 2016. I started running that in more than a year before that. And a year later, like we didn't spend that much on ads, but it had, 286 comments, 138 people had shared that ad. It stirred up massive controversy. I actually felt sorry for my mum, because her last name in her own industry was just getting blown up by my aggressive marketing. But we started importing this stuff and just selling tons and tons of it. And it was only ever really a side business, and we used it to float the debt and the expenses and stuff that we had from the other business. And my brother still runs it today. It was called Ivy League Dance Floors until the Ivy League institution in the US sent us a cease and desist. So now it's just called Ivy Dance Floors. And yeah, but I'll post a link to this letter, because all I did was run this ad. Our promise was that we could get you, the high quality vinyl dance floor at half the cost. The mechanism was that we were just going to cut everyone out, cut out the middleman, or we were just going to provide it, go straight from manufacturer to you, and not charge you these insane margins. And the story of how I knew that was what you wanted was everything I'd been through in my life and everything that my mum had been through in her life. So that's a really good example. I'll send you that, guys, so you can read that. I think I put the link, it might be in the notes. But if you have a read of that, you'll get a feeling for how to write good stories, for how to, introduce your mechanism, for how to address your market, all of that sort of thing, but really how to articulate your story. Because when you dig deep on an emotional level, you'll realize that people really connect with you. So guys, I want to quickly run through a few ad writing formulas with you, and then I'm going to talk more about how to finesse the words that you write in your ads. Who's heard of these before? PASS or AIDA, problem, agitate, solve, and attention, interest, desire, action. Anyone heard of those before? A couple people? Awesome. All right, so I'll give you a couple of examples. So like I said, the first one, when you're writing a short ad, is problem, agitate, solve. And it's as simple as it sounds, right? And when I said before there's 2 skills when it comes to writing copy, this first one is very much the first skill. It's like the concept. Like, what's the structure for the ad? And then we'll talk about how to finesse the words that are in it. So here's a really good example for an imaginary holiday website. Problem. So this could literally be a Facebook ad, this could be in an email, this could be direct mail, wherever you want to use it. Finding the perfect hotel can be stressful, almost too stressful to bother. And then you agitate that, you kind of twist the knife on the pain of that. Hunting down all your options, working out how far away the local hotspots are, and reading reviews from other guests. Then, of course, there is price. And all within your lunch hour, impossible, right? So it's kind of articulating that this problem is painful and hard for you to solve, which it's not that difficult, but solve. Not impossible. AwesomeHotels.com makes finding the best hotel deals quick and easy. We compare hundreds of travel sites for you so you get the best deal available, all faster than you can say a ham, cheese and pickle on rye. Now, you'd probably have a different call to action because it might be like, sign up here today or visit our website or whatever it is, but it's a great example of what's the problem I address, what's the real deep driven emotional pain behind it, and then what's the solution to it. So no matter what you sell, and Michael's smoking is a great example, you've got the pain of, the financial cost, the health cost, the cost of your family. There's all these primary and secondary factors that you can agitate. So it's a great example. And here's another one for an imaginary mattress company. So, problem. When was the last time you had a really good night's sleep? The kind of sleep where you wake up feeling refreshed and genuinely excited about getting out of bed? Agitate. A bad night's sleep can leave you feeling like someone packed your skull with cotton wool. You can't concentrate, you feel irritable, and no amount of coffee will clear the fog in your brain. So it's kind of taking it to that next level, really stirring up that pain. Solve. If this is a regular occurrence for you, you need to know about our new Tempur-Pedic mattress. You'll be floating with perfect support all night long. So again, it's kind of going through those 3 steps. Now, if you were to kind of parlay the things I was saying earlier, like say you'd talked about your story and then you wanted to introduce your mechanism, you might go through here. You might have sleep's a bad example, but you might have a way, like if you go back to the holiday website, you might have, their mechanism is essentially that they're a comparison site. Doesn't make them terribly different to all of the other websites that are like that, but it's a good example. You might be like, here at awesomehotels.com, we've developed this unique piece of software that'll show you the best deal you can get that's updated every 5 minutes or something like that. We're the only company in the world that can do that. To use our tool for free, click here. You would introduce that mechanism into that solution part because that's the thing that you want people to hang their hope on. Does that make sense? Cool. And then, so this is a good example of like the AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action, which is the second of the short ad writing formulas that I talk about. Just straight up calling out the market here is what I did in this ad, Attention, dance studio owners. And then interest, ever wondered why vinyl dance floor is so incredibly expensive? It's like something you'd be curious about. Wish there was a way you could get premium quality dance floors that don't cost a small fortune. That's like desire. Well, what if I told you there was? And the solution is to go and read this article. Does that make sense for everyone? Write those down. They're good ways of writing ads, especially if you do ads, Facebook, and that sort of thing. Regular post, email. Yep, 100%. Okay, I'll come back to this if I have time at the end. I touched on it before, those 8 segments. If I have time at the end, I'll actually get the ads up and sort of go through every line of copy. We'll see how we go for time. So guys, I want to go through my 14 sales copy secrets or things you need to understand to really improve how your ads go. Even if you cold email, like if you're B2B, like Simon, you're reaching out to people about your bags. If you want people to respond to you, then I want to talk about, sort of 15 things you can do. There's some common mistakes people make and things that are pretty easy to solve. Before I actually get into the first one, I want to talk about a couple of concepts that people need to be aware of. So when we talk about writing copy, the great thing about these long stories is, like I say to people, you need to tell your story, but it's not just enough to tell your story. It needs to be done in a way that's really effective and compelling. I was talking to Alana last night. Has everyone heard of that motivational Facebook page, Goalcast? And they always have stories about like Jordan Belfort and Grant Cardone and those kind of guys. Even though they're videos, one thing they do really, really well is every one of their videos starts in the middle of a story, which is actually one of my 14 things that I'll get to. It starts in the middle of a story and it'll be like, he pointed a gun at me and I thought I was going to die. That's like the first thing you see, and you see some celebrity you've heard of, or even if you haven't heard of him. I watched one the other day with Scooter Braun, who's Justin Bieber's manager, and his thing was like, she called me a filthy liar. But it starts at this point that's not the start of the story, kind of how I started the very first talk I did today. And it makes people think, like you're instantly captivated and you're like, want to know what happened, right? And so that's like a really effective way of telling stories. But the point is that I was making, when you use written word, you need to compel people. You need to, the first line sells them on the second line, which sells them on the third line. If at any point you say something that makes them feel a bit weird or uncomfortable, they're probably going to bounce off the page. And that whole process of creating line after line after line of copy that's really compelling is what we call as copywriters the greased slide. If you reading an ad like a greased slide, like I want everyone to just slide down it because there's nothing weird, and I'll give you examples of it, there's nothing weird as I go about it. Whereas when you write things that are weird, and when I say weird, that make people uncomfortable, or that's just not really smooth, or you make some of the mistakes I'll talk about, you create what we call pauses in the copy, and a pause kind of gets someone like out of state. It's like, if you're reading a story and then the same words are used twice, even if it makes sense, you kind of stop and you're like, why the hell is the word had there twice after each other? That kind of thing creates a pause in the reader's mind. You want to eliminate that as much as possible, because when you stop the pauses, you keep people in what we call the buyer's trance of them reading every line of copy, and that sort of promotes that greased slide. So I just want to talk about those three concepts because I'm going to refer to them as we go through this. So guys, the first example, it's like the overall principle of marketing. Everything must be fast, quick, and easy. Now, this is a dangerous one because people need to have integrity with this. I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying make up things that are not true. But you need to understand that this is the essence of all marketing. Everyone wants something yesterday. They don't want things 10 years ago. When I talked before about marketplace sophistication and the different types of markets, I talked about how at the what stage, at stage 2, people are just making claims. And they're gone from, make 100 grand in 90 days to make 100 grand in 60 days to 30 days to 7 days, all trying to make the claim happen faster. And whether they can do it or not is besides the point. It's appealing because people want things fast, quick, and easy. And I'll give you a good example. Here's 2 ads I created, right? That one was in 2016, and this one was last year sometime. Now, this ad on the left is one of the best campaigns I've created. I actually created that in 2015, around the same time as the Dance Floor Company. And it was running until the start of this year. It did phenomenally well. But if you're a personal trainer and you want 10 clients in the next 5 days, download this email template. There's a lot of reasons it worked well, of which I won't go into at a massive level right now. But one of those is get 10 clients in 5 days. That's a good example of a marketing promise, right? Super clear, super specific. It's something that everyone would want. We generated thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of leads doing that because it's fast, quick, and easy, right? Then on the right here, we ran this one, how to build a $4 million property portfolio in 10 years. Went terrible. Oh, actually not terrible, just very mediocre. Now, the difference is, even though you can't say build a $4 million property portfolio in 12 months or something, because it's not true, no one wants to wait 10 years to have a $4 million portfolio. It's very mediocre. It's very meh. When I created it, I actually thought it would go well. That's why I created it. But when it failed, I was kind of not that surprised when I thought about it. I was like, yeah, who wants to spend 10 years? Even though that's what it'll realistically take. Now, I could have run an ad that said, how to build a $4 million portfolio in 18 months, and maybe people would be curious, but it's just, you got to have integrity, So always keep things fast, quick, and easy. Left one crushed it, right one didn't. But again, make sure that you have integrity when you do it.